Okay, Asta, welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast. Thank you so much for taking part in this video today. I'm very happy to have you here. And you are a world famous disability rights campaigner, actor, speaker, presenter, and writer, pioneering and starring in documentaries and movies across the world. For those who are unfamiliar with your content, can you tell us a bit more about what you do?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for welcoming me onto your show. I'm honored. I Since the age of about 26, I've campaigned for the rights of people with disabilities to have a sex life and experience the a sexual experience and an intimacy with each other. And we started off with a documentary in 2007 that saw me and two other guys on a road trip.
That's how I found you. It was the road the For One Night Only, the BBC One documentary film. And I was absolutely fascinated when I saw that. So I actually reached out to you after I saw it, and then we've been connected ever since. That must have been at least 10 years since I've seen that. So tell us a bit more about, for those who've not seen it, can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, it was a documentary that. So I went to Spain with my mum and dad in 2006 on holiday, and at that point, I was really longing for an intimate experience with another woman. And we went into this Irish bar, and the owner must have heard us talking. And anyway, he says there's this great club down the road called Eclipse. I was like, all right, okay, we must go here. So off we went, all in the car. And yeah, it was a brothel in the middle of Spain. Um, Incredible. I've never felt from that point. I'd never felt intimacy like that before in my life. So for me, it was almost a coming of age, and I felt a new man because I lost my virginity in a brothel. So after that, my friend died of muscular dystrophy, and he always wanted an experience, a sexual experience, and from that moment on, I made it my mission to try and help people who can't automatically have a sexual experience as easy as everyone else can. So I made it my mission to help those people, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
That's amazing. I think it's amazing that you can actually have that openness with your parents. I guess a lot of people don't have that support and understanding because sexuality is very taboo, as you know. So it's
Yeah, I think it's just the whole when it comes to disability and carers or parents. I think a lot of parents tend to wrap the person up with a disability in bubble wrap or cotton wool.
mm.
So it's almost like a protection zone. But I really think that it personally it's the wrong way to go because that person deep down wants these experiences but don't know how to express it because of that.
Yeah, because of the shame. And if I remember correctly, on in the documentary, there was a moment when you put a post on a forum and to actually try and help people, and you got quite a negative backlash. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so as part of the documentary pre-prep, we had to go out and find two other guys to come with me on this road trip, and we put an advertisement out on a really popular publications forum here in England, and it basically said, "Look, what we're doing, and we're making a program, and we want you to come on a road trip." And yeah, it got really slammed on the forum, unfortunately, because I think they were kind of thinking that I was advertising for a seedy porn film, and I was kind of out to get people with disabilities. So it came across in the wrong way. But that's the kind of tendency as well, when because if you think about sex as one and disability as another, you don't really marry the two up, do you, in life? So I think I think that was the problem, and I think it still is.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so very surprised that that backlash. It was very interesting to see that. And was it actually a disability forum, or was this a generic forum?
it was a disability forum.
Oh, actually, think I would expect a more positive response then, wouldn't you? From
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it
thank
was
God someone's doing
strange.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it was really odd, but in the end we got two guys and they were great.
Were you trying to get more than two people? I would have thought there'd be queuing up people to kind of get in there and have that opportunity.
You'd be
Were you only looking for
surprised.
two people, or
You'd
was
be
it supposed to be for
surprised.
more?
You'd be surprised, Venus. It was initially we wanted more, but unfortunately we had to it had to be two. So because there really wasn't that uptake, you know, and luckily there's an organisation in the UK called the Outsiders, and they help people with disabilities and sexual experiences and stuff like that. So luckily they helped us because it wouldn't have happened otherwise.
I think I've heard of that organization. What's the woman who organizes it called? Is she
It's
called?
Tuppy Owens.
Yeah, I've heard of her many times actually over the years.
Yeah,
I think they
yeah,
did some.
she's
They have a famous award ceremony. Does that still happen?
they do, yeah, yeah, they
Mhm.
do. It's really she's a great person, you know.
I should get
She's
her on
done
the
a lot.
podcast. I'm gonna write her
You
name down.
should, you should, you should.
Yeah, yeah.
She's a good person for disability, you know. She's done a lot of work and campaigning on sexual rights and disability and trying to break down the taboo.
Yeah, I think I've seen another documentary that she was in maybe around the same time because I just found this because actually what happened was I actually wrote an article about sexuality and disability and I had no idea this I had this incredible reaction. It was in El País.
Wow.
It was amazing and I ended up getting because there was a organization here called Yes We Fuck, or like the kind of Yes We Can, but Yes We Fuck, and it had like a two wheelchair thing in the is the logo, and they were
Yeah.
doing a lot of stuff. I'm not sure if they're still active because this is a long time ago now, and a lot of people were like, "Wow, we didn't know this existed. It was amazing." And one of my followers wanted to meet me in person. This guy who was born with his like feet the wrong way, and he had to have 40 operations to get them straight.
Wow.
And it was incredible because we met in a cafe and he brought his sex toys to show me. And I was like, it's really opened my mind to this whole new world. And also seeing the altruistic side of sex toys. People just think they're just frivolous objects, but the actual fact they can really help people, you know, with especially with like hands-free stimulation, etc. So it was really, really an amazing
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
I'm at the moment I'm ambassador of a charity here called Enhance the UK, and they're about to launch a line of sex toys for people with disabilities. So that's really exciting, and I've tried them, and they're great, you know. And I
Mhm.
think it's coming. Hopefully, it's coming to the more to the forefront of people's minds and hearts that people with disabilities actually do have these experiences and longings.
Yeah, definitely, because everyone does, and it's just breaking
Exactly.
down those taboos. Because I remember, I
Yeah.
think in this other documentary, I think I saw Toppy Owens in. It was there was a guy who I think he was quite an older virgin. And I think he said some time when he had this experience with a woman that he didn't know that a hug would be so warm, and it was like a moment to cry. It was like wow, it was just so beautiful to see this
Yeah, I just
intimacy.
think I think people I think people really need to kind of start opening their minds a little bit because we live in a really unconscious world, you know. And I don't want to put a doomer on it, but we do, and that's the only reason why people with disabilities are seen the way they are, you know, because people just aren't conscious.
Yeah, I guess people just don't want to think about it. You know, they're just kind of like maybe feel guilty for their own capabilities or something and then just shut it
Well, yeah,
down.
it's
Mm.
funny, isn't it? But you know, I always say to people or whatever show I'm on or podcast I'm on that, you know what, how are we here in the first place? You
Yeah.
know, we've all had everyone's had that experience, so I'm trying to tie the link up between the what you know the taboo and it's strange, isn't it? You know,
I mean, for me, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is my mission too, with female orgasm specifically. And I just think, how can the most beautiful thing in the world be so taboo? You know, just,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
definitely. Hmm. So I saw that your story became a film called Come As You Are. Could you tell us about that process and what was it like to see your life events played out on screen?
Yeah, so first we had a movie called Hasta La Vista, and that was
Mm.
from a Belgian producer called Mariano Van Hoof, and he approached me after the BBC One documentary went out, saying that he'd seen the documentary and they would love to do make a movie out of the One Life, the BBC One Life, and I said, yeah, that sounds absolutely brilliant. So to cut a very long story short, um, the movie went into production, and yeah, it was just surreal. We filmed in Palamos, um, near Malaga area, that kind of Torremolinos area. No, the Palamos was my original on the
That's
documentary.
Barcelona, yes, near here.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
Costa
We
Brava.
filmed, yeah, we filmed in Malaga for the movie, and yeah, it was just insane. Just because I went on set in Spain and Belgium, and it just to see this. No, it's not only a movie, but the message
Yeah.
being projected out into a bigger audience was incredible. And then it got made, and we won a lot of awards. We won the equivalent to the European Oscars, the top prize. Um, and then it got sold to Hollywood, and yeah, Hollywood remade it, and that was called Come As You Are. Um,
Okay.
Great cast, fantastic movie, but unfortunately, it didn't get the coverage that it deserved because of COVID. So
Okay.
it just released at the time of COVID, and it kind of but it's there, and it's slowly doing its thing, and it's a beautiful film. It really is. It shows a great message, and that I've been campaigning for all these years, that people with disabilities love sex.
Was it actually based on the documentary? The story kind of, was it like your life?
Yeah,
The sequence of events was the same in both
yeah,
movies?
it was, yeah. There obviously for fiction there are some things change, but
Mhm.
you know, it was predominantly about the experience I had, which was very cool. I don't think a lot of people can say they've had a movie made about their experience, but it's important for me to just to be known for that, and people with disabilities and caregivers write to us, me and mum and dad, all the time, and ask for help, and just where to go, and when we just say, look, it's fine, it's cool, just be open with each other.
That's amazing. So where can people see these documentaries?
You can see the documentary, the BBC One Life, on my website,
Uh-huh.
and you can see Come As You Are, the Hollywood remake, is on Amazon.
Oh, is
Or
it? Oh, brilliant.
yeah,
I've got
yeah,
Prime Video, so I'm going to watch that.
yeah, or YouTube. You can catch that. And Hasta
Okay.
La Vista. I'm not sure where Hasta La Vista is at the moment.
Is that in English? Is it
That's
in English?
that's subtitled Belgium
Oh,
Flemish.
okay. Okay,
Yeah,
right. Hmm.
but the Hollywood one is in English.
Okay, great.
But
Oh, that's
both
exciting.
fantastic films.
I'm going to definitely check that out on Amazon Prime.
Thank you.
Amazing. I can't wait to see that. It must have been a really interesting process to see like your story become fictionalized and see how the like dialogues happened
Yeah, I just
and the
it was
castings and stuff.
part of it. Yeah, it was very surreal.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it was incredible to see. That I was sat there at one point, and I'm like, oh my god, just from that time in the bar in Palamos, um, that it's come to,
It's a life-changing experience. It's
yeah,
like your
it's just
mission.
yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
and I'm still doing that. I'm still forging through with it, and I don't think, to be honest, Venus, I've never stopped talking about sex since
Well,
2006.
that was 2009, so
Right?
three
Oh
more
yeah,
years for me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like, but it's education, isn't it? And I think I think as far as disability goes, uh, I think people need to be educated from a young age that disability is just part of life, and I think that would help um, progress the mission that
Definitely
I'm on.
sexuality as well is like something that's just people want to forget that it exists, They just want
Well,
to
it's
kind of
always seen as
put it
kind
out.
of seedy or
Not
or
important.
criminal. Yeah, exactly. But it really is important because it's healthy for your body, mind, and soul.
Mm. Also, a lot of our life decisions are based on sexuality, our relationships, and and it's just so much more than in out, shake all about. It's just way more complex than that.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it is. It's
Yeah.
definitely it's about that intimacy with another human being, isn't it? It's about the connection you have.
You must have helped so many people. Do you receive messages a lot from other people?
Yeah, I do. I get a lot
Mm.
of messages, and it's heartwarming. It really
Mm.
is that because for me, I did the program and I did the movies, so and my mom and dad were so supportive, so I wasn't really alone. But there are people with disabilities out there that go through this alone because they don't think they can speak to anyone because they don't think they'll take them seriously, and that's really sad, you know,
Mm.
that because we're beings to have put on this earth to have experiences and to kind of have that shut down is sad. But yeah, I hope I do help people and I hope I carry on.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's difficult to approach the topic of disability in general as well as sex. I think they're two topics that can be very difficult. I mean, I know a guy who comes to some of my social events and he's in a wheelchair, and it's like that. You just ignore the fact that he's in a wheelchair, and you don't have the conversation of, was it an accident? Have you always been? That just those questions would seem very taboo and intrusive. And then to go to sex would be like another level of intrusion, maybe. So I think people don't really know how to approach the topic. I mean, do you have any advice about what you would like, or do you know what? Do you have any tips?
Yeah, for me, I'd prefer someone to come up to me and say, "What's your condition and how did you get it?" I do get some comments like mainly from younger children, but that's coming from a really innocent place, and they say, what happened to you? And
Mm-hmm.
in actual fact, maybe people should be like that,
Mm-hmm.
and as far as sex goes with disability, then just have no preconceptions or no thought, because the I think the most dangerous thing we can have is going into the mind and too much thinking. Whereas if you say to someone, "Hey, just be open with people," and I think that's where we've got unstuck in life. That you know we're just not open with each other anymore. We're living in a society of looking at phones and looking at laptops, and we just don't communicate, and that's the problem. That really is the problem. So I'd say open communication is the key thing to discussing anything. And to be fair, we're in the 21st century now, and A, disability should not be a taboo, and B, sex should not be a taboo, because both have been around for years and years and years and years. But unfortunately, years and years and years ago, people with disabilities were not encouraged to come out into the open. They were hidden away. So to think someone with a disability can also have sex, it's just a mind blower, isn't it, for people? You know.
What blows my mind, just nothing to do with sex, is that all of the technology and how that can help. For example, the guy I met up with, who had seen my article and had the 40 operations to get his feet aligned. I was thinking, oh, where do you live? I'll come to you. And the guy has a car, and he came to where I live, like on a hill, and then and obviously with when our communication, you write back straight away, and like I'm just like thinking, wow, there's a lot of
Yeah.
technology that really helps. Can you share any tips
Yeah.
or any information about
I,
that?
I use my mouth. I use my mouth for
Okay.
everything.
So is
Yeah.
that
So
vocal, like dictation or?
no, what I do is have a mouth stick,
Okay.
and yeah, so I'm able to use a mouse pad on the laptop, and I'm also able to type. And some people have seen me type, and they're thinking, they say to me, able-bodied people say, "Oh my God, you can type faster than me." I'm just like, well, that's the gift I got with a disability.
Yeah, I'm just been amazed at how fast you write back sometimes. It's like, whoa. It's like
Yeah, no,
I was thinking
some
he was
people have,
speaking the messages or something.
yeah, some
Yeah.
people have said to me before, "Oh, do your mum and dad type for you, like, because it's so fast?" I'm like, no, it's me, like, but yeah, there's so much technology out there, and we are living in the 21st century, and it's getting exciting for not only people with disabilities, but for everyone, and as long as we embrace it, because you get a lot of people that are stuck.
Mhm. So, in the documentary, why did you go to Spain for this when you already knew about the brothel in Spain? Why did you want to go on a trip to Spain and not the UK? What's the situation in the UK, and why was Spain a better choice?
Okay, so the England is very closed down on a lot of fronts, and sex being one of them, and anything to do with sex and brothels and escorts is very seem to be very seedy, very a no-go area, if you like. So, and me and my dad did the research before we did the Spanish trip, and it's just not happening in England at all, and it's it, it's very dark and underworldy. Whereas when we went to Spain and we saw this place, they work it as they told me that it was neither legal or illegal, and
Like a
that
grey
that's how,
area.
yeah, that's how
Mhm.
they were running this place. But it was massive, this absolutely massive place in the middle of like some Arab desert land, and just it just looked like something out of Baghdad Cafe, and it was just huge and eye opening. And I honestly believe that if they had more places like these, then people wouldn't be so sexually frustrated. And surely, wouldn't that drive the crime rate down?
Mm.
If people weren't so sexually suppressed, because
Mm.
it's seen as a just a oh, don't talk about that. Not even with disability in
Mm.
general.
Definitely.
But
Wow.
this place was awesome. Yeah, it was great, and the people were friendly. And I'm not sure it's still there anymore, but apparently they had a lot of business after the documentary. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
but it was great. It wasn't far from where you are actually. So yeah, I don't know if they still exist over there. I think
There's
they're
been a
called
change in
nightclubs.
law that I'm not sure how that affects these things, but I've had a couple of tantric massages. I've done for press collaborations. I used to write for El País, and I've
Yeah,
written over 100 articles. That's where I wrote the disabilities article, and I wrote one about receiving this tantric massage, which was like in exchange for the article. It was crazy. It's no, there's no sex. It's like there's a happy ending, but it's all tantric and like tickling the masseuses naked, and it's very
wow,
sensual. And I think for me at first, I said I didn't want a happy ending because I didn't feel comfortable with someone touching me in an intimate way who was getting paid for it. But then the woman who was like, "Why don't you want it?" And I realized that these people, like, there's a whole, it's very nuanced sex work. There's some people who might be exploited, but other people who really do have this gift and they're like psychologists almost, they know how to
yeah.
read people and make people feel very comfortable. And this girl was like, "Why not? You have to enjoy the whole thing." And I still kind of maintained the no. But anyway, after this, writing this article, the competition called me and wanted to do the same thing, like sponsored article. We insist, we want you to have the happy ending. So I was like, okay, if you insist. So I had the happy ending, but I felt fine about it. The girl was so nice, and she wanted me to ask her questions about her job because I was writing an article, and it was really Really, really nice. And also, they have all these curtains that you can't see the other clients there because their discretion is really important in these places. I don't know what it's like. Well, obviously, in a brothel might be a bit more open, like a bar, but in these places, like a tantric massage, it's like you go into a waiting area, you don't see anyone else there. And I remember this older guy going there, and it made me kind of like shift my perception. I think, why shouldn't he experience intimacy? Why do we label these people as perverts
Exactly.
or whatever, so yeah, I just thought it saw it in a different light. And I think sometimes if you are single for a long time and you don't want to go on dating apps, then what's wrong with a little bit of intimacy,
Exactly.
And it
I've
can
had some
be, yeah.
great I've had some great fun in Spain, and I obviously don't visit brothels anymore because I'm in a relationship now, but we do holiday a lot there, and I'm coming over there on the 5th of February to Malaga.
Mm.
But everywhere, you know, sexually and liberating, and I've always found it outside of the shores of England. We filmed with National Geographic for a piece they were doing in that was in Amsterdam, and it was just great. That they rigged out the whole place with lighting, and in the end, all the escorts and the owners and everyone were dancing around us. And we just had a great big party in there, and there was no hang-ups. And it was fun, and everyone had open minds, and but it, wouldn't it be incredible if that's the way it always was?
Yeah.
And like that you saying about the tantric massage, like, why not go
Mhm.
for go for a happy ending? It's amazing. I love it. And the Spanish press are great. I was in Mallorca not so long ago at the film festival, and they were just great. They're almost kind of, I don't know, they almost flock to me like, oh, he can talk about sex. This is great.
I do find them quite open-minded because I mean, on the press I've been in, it's just they're very open to sexuality. And I'm going to
They
film,
are.
yeah,
They're
definitely.
brilliant. I love it. Every press experience I've had over there is amazing. Um, and that's why I went to Spain, really, because it was just liberating.
Yeah, I think they embrace new things, new ideas quite easily, especially after the Franco period. Everything's just become they
Yeah,
embrace new technology, new tendencies, new ideas.
absolutely. Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
So what are you working on at the moment?
At the moment, I've got a podcast like you. It's called Asta Vision.
Is it
Uh,
new?
it's kind of. It's just kind of ramped up really over the last year and a half. I've had some great guests, and I have to get you on there.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I'm on a daytime program every week. It's a lunchtime program on Channel 4 called Desk Pack Lunch.
Oh,
Um, I'm doing that every week, and yeah, it's things are. I've got an agent and helping people, and it's all going on in the background, and I just think the main thing though for me is to enjoy life and keep connected with who I am and enjoy the moment.
so from what I've just seen from your social media, it's not just focused on sexuality now, it's kind of going a bit more into other topics. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, especially with the Channel 4 program every week.
So what is that about?
We
What do
do
you do?
talk. Well, it's a lunchtime kind of magazine show. But I talk about different topics exactly, like whether it be political or what's happened on the day, or because I've had to kind of I've had to diversify a bit because I just can't talk about sex on everything, unfortunately. So, um, yeah, it's fun, and it's just, again, it's about open communication.
Yeah, I mean, this podcast for me is not just a sex thing because I was, obviously talking about sex since 2009. And I remember I had this interview with Marie Claire Brazil years ago, and the journalist said, "I'm going to be late. I'm in traffic. Can we postpone?" It's like, "Yeah, fine." when we got on the call, I told her that I had no alarm since 2009. I wake up naturally every day, and she's like, "Wow." So then I realized that I had an orgasmic lifestyle. So it wasn't just about the 750
Love it.
toys that I've tested. It's more about, eating organic, working 4 hours a day, outsourcing, waking up naturally has got to be the best thing ever. And that's what this podcast is about. So I don't just talk about sex. It's also meditation, books, nutrition, spirituality, all of those things.
Yeah, I love that.
Um,
And
mhm.
they all combine into one, really, don't they?
Yeah,
I'm really spiritual, and I meditate, and I find I find going inside to experience the inner peace a lot more less kind of noisy than out there. And I've got a meditation teacher. He's called Prem Rawat, and he travels the world. And he's just, he's amazing teacher, and just shows you how to connect to that inner peace, which is
great.
a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I have sexual affirmations on this podcast as well, like things like I am
Cool.
an orgasmic woman or clitoral gratitude affirmations and
I
things like
love it.
that.
I love it.
So I'm
That's
combining,
brilliant.
yeah, it's like making my own dream magazine kind of thing. Because I mean, I think I don't know if it happens to you, but I mean, I find that if you're just talking about sex all the time, it can kind of become desensitized and it can kill your libido. It happened to me a little bit, so I need to kind of make
Yeah.
it more, a bit more
Well, it's
diluted.
like if you have anything too much, isn't it? Or think about anything too much, it's not a treat anymore.
Yeah. Like when I was a student, I was a waitress a lot just to get extra money, but I made sure I never was a waitress in a pizza place because I love pizza. So, but now I've got 750 toys and yeah, I have to kind of find a balance.
750. Where do you keep them all?
I've got a spare room. I'll have to send you a picture.
Cusp.
It's pretty crazy. I have a spare room and it took me 3 days to organize them all, but I've got them all classified, let's say G Spot or by company as well and by genre. So it's
Amazing.
yeah, because one day I want to have the Venus O'Hara collection loaned out to some museums or have a pop up because you know how
Hell yeah.
technology gets old very quickly. So maybe in 10, 20 years or something like that. Because there's bigger collection than many shops. So
I love that. That's really
yeah.
cool. The Venus O'Hara sex toy collection. I love it.
Yeah, and then with the reviews in framed next to the toy,
Yeah,
something. That's my idea for the future.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a really good future plan.
Speaking of toys, do there any toys that you find useful? Or that you find?
Maybe well, yeah, we got one to try from Enhance, and it was um uh like a bullet,
Mhm.
a vibrator, but it had like a mouthpiece on the end.
Oh, wow.
So I was able to kind of, you know, pleasure my partner in that way as well.
So we're
So
thinking of like a bullet with a wire that you can put in your mouth. Is that the kind of thing we're talking
it
about?
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's technology, like you say, is definitely coming on, and because
Mm,
pleasure works both ways, doesn't it?
absolutely. So
Yeah,
you're also a speaker, and I'm currently doing Toastmasters because I really want to be,
cool.
do more speaking gigs, and I've started to get paid speaking gigs and travel for speaking. Can you give me any advice on public speaking, or what training have you had?
Oh, do you know what, Venus? I haven't had any training,
Wow,
and that I just, yeah, I get
fabulous.
nervous, but that's a normal thing. But the thing to do is that, well, the thing I find is that if you have such a passion for something, um, and it comes from the heart, then I don't think you can go wrong. And if you believe in what you're talking about, I don't think you can go wrong. And it's just about taking maybe 5 minutes before you go on and focusing and maybe meditating, and you just find it just flies then. That's how I do it.
Do you have a script or bullet points?
No,
You just like go on and share your
yeah,
story.
everything's unscripted and unbulleted, and I just, yeah, it just flows from the heart, and
Oh,
that's
channeling.
That's how I've always, yeah, I've channeled all the time. Like with my podcasts, I don't, I do, this might sound bad, but I do very little research because I want the other person to tell the story. So, and it starts when it starts to flow, it starts to channel, and it becomes organically beautiful.
That's fantastic. I don't know if you're familiar with Toastmasters, but it's a kind of method and it's way too robotic. And I'm going to, the last speech I gave was totally unrehearsed and I had a much better experience because I did a speech last year that I knew quite well. I went blank twice, which is, the worst fear because I
Well,
think I over rehearsed.
yeah, if you,
Mm.
I tend to find that if I rehearse, I'm thinking more about the rehearsed stuff that I'd done instead of
Just
letting it
being in the
happen in
moment.
the
Yeah.
moment. Yeah, it's like it just works organically better, a lot better, and that's my best advice. Like, just don't overthink it.
Yeah, because I'm going to take part in a speech contest this year. It's called At Least I Can Smile. I don't know if you know this, but I actually woke up with Bell's palsy in 2020. Like,
No,
it was the most awful experience because I just woke up and I looked at my face and it was like totally droopy.
wow,
And I mean, I just couldn't register for a while. I went to the hospital and I was distraught. It was the worst thing emotionally it's ever happened to me because I couldn't make videos and everyone was wearing masks, but I couldn't close my eye. And I had to do
no
facial
way.
yoga for a month to get my face back and then to get my smile. So I've got this whole deep kind of story, but I didn't even need because I've told the story millions of times. So I just have to make sure it's less than 7 minutes, otherwise I get disqualified. So that's going to be my thing. That's for mine because at least now,
What?
yeah.
How did that happen? Do you know
I
the
don't think
cause of it?
people. I don't think people really know the cause, but I did sleep on a cold surface, so I might have because this nerve comes out here and it goes to the eye, the nose, and the mouth, so it affected the whole thing and made it droop. Then I had to take
Oh,
steroids, but I think every painful experience is an awakening or a lesson, and I just spent 3 or 4 weeks just crying and meditating, and it was a really deep experience, and just being grateful now. I used to wake up and just check I can smile. So now, whenever I'm a bit down, I think, oh, at least I can smile, because to lose your smile but one thing that happened was kind of funny from this story is that I went to one of my co-workings after a couple of weeks after it happened, and everyone gathered around me. I was telling the story, and a guy joined the conversation a bit late. I didn't want him to be looking at me thinking, what's wrong with her? So I said, oh, I've got facial paralysis. And he said, oh, I thought you'd had Botox. So
no
I just
way.
thought I would never do Botox now because why would you try and pay for that look of like not being able to move your face?
Exactly, exactly. It's something I wonder a lot.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
yeah.
God, that's incredible, isn't it? So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. From every experience, it is an awakening, and we're meant to have these experiences, I think, on the journey.
Because it must be really crazy for you, like going on holiday to Spain, and then this has become your life's mission in a completely organic with unplanned way. Is that safe to say? Is it like that?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's not just like you, it's not just the sex side either.
Mm,
It's getting people to open their minds more,
mm,
and seeing people with disabilities as human beings. Because there's nothing more heart wrenching than someone seeing you as different. Or, I mean,
mm.
difference is good. I like individuality, and, we're all unique. But to say someone, because I know people with disabilities who get attacked in the street and stuff, and it's like, you
Why
know,
would anyone do
I,
that?
I just, I just don't understand. So to me, my mission is about embracing people for who they are, and whatever they look like is that's what they were born like, and that's it. It's very simple.
Hmm. Great. So a couple of few quick questions for you. What is the book that changed your life?
The book.
Do you into
Oh God.
books?
Yeah, probably actually Prem Rawat's book.
Is that your
Um,
meditation teacher?
yeah, yeah, it's called, oh God, this is bad. It's called How to Experience peace in a noisy world.
Oh, that's amazing. Nice
Yeah, so
title.
it's a really good book, and it's launched in Spain as well, and I highly recommend reading it. So that's probably my go-to.
Great. And which phrase or affirmation or quote or philosophy do you live by?
um, just I know it's people are saying it more and more now, and it's almost becoming a kind of cliche, but just live in the moment
Hmm.
because otherwise we just get ripped off everywhere if we're not in the moment. And don't worry, because fear is the biggest killer. Stress is the biggest killer. So don't fear and don't worry, and go through life like that.
Some great advice. So where can people find you?
You can find me on my website, astaphilpot.com.
And Philpot
I'm
with
on
two
Insta,
T's. Yeah. Is that, yeah.
just one,
Oh, there's one. Okay.
just the one,
Okay.
and I'm on Instagram, Asta Philpot.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah,
And the
just
podcast.
and the podcast is Asta Vision. That's
Okay.
on YouTube and everywhere else you get your podcasts.
Amazing. So thank you so much for joining us today on the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast. It's definitely been a
Amazing.
pleasure.
Oh, it's my pleasure's all mine. I've really enjoyed it, and it's nice to connect with you again.
Thanks so much.